Jimin and Hyun were returning to their home. The car was unusually silent. It was usually Hyun who would start talking and Jimin would just answer him. But it was never silent. Hyun was kind of silent after he met with Mr. Lee, and Jimin was totally curious about what they talked, and the silence was making it even more impatient. He kept glancing at Hyun time to time, but Hyun wouldn't talk. So he finally decided to ask, what did Mr. Lee do? He said, not looking at Hyun. Hyun, well, I'm just thinking how should I put it so that you will listen to me. Jimin, what does that mean? Hyun, you need to study. Jimin, what? Hyun, if you didn't study, then Mr. Lee told that he is going to expel you. Since his son is the top student, he wants to keep him, and if you got more than average marks, then he will also let you stay in this university. Jimin, but that's not fair since I'm getting expelled. He should also do. Yeah, that's why I did this challenge. But I guess it was wrong to do. But I didn't have any other choice because he wasn't going to let you stay. So I had to choose this. Yeah, can't you just study for at least this week and the next week? After the mock test, you can teach me. After all, it was you who have caused this trouble, isn't it? Jimin, alright, I'll study. He said, surprising him. Jimin, but you have to teach me. Sam, you don't have recordings. You can just hear them. Well, they are not interesting at all. And I will feel silly if I heard them for long time. So there is no chance I will study from those recordings. I just kept it for emergency, and I'm going to delete them soon. Alright, but you also need to listen to me, don't you? Jimin, I will listen and obey you. Really? Jimin, for 2 weeks. Yeah, that's enough. Hyun's voice was filled with happiness. Jimin just ignored him as he looked outside and tried his best to hide his smile. And yes, you won't fight anymore, got it? Jimin, I will try. You won't. You can just come to me if anyone tries to offend you. Jimin, okay. His voice was barely ever a whisper, but Taeyang could hear him. Time skipped. Taeyang hadn't told Jimin that it wasn't him who was getting expelled, but it will be Taeyang who will get his resignation because of Jimin if he didn't got good marks. But seeing Jimin at least getting interested a little bit, he was sure that he would get above average marks this time. But while checking his papers, he was kind of scared and sad because he put his all efforts to teach Jimin, and when he checked his papers, he was really not getting as much as he expected. Although Jimin was going to get above average marks, but he was still disappointed in Jimin. He expected him to do better since he really had put a lot of effort in teaching him. Hyun started to ignore Jimin and talk to him less. He would talk to him barely and whenever it is really necessary. He stopped going to check on Jimin whether he was paying attention in classes or not, and that somehow haunted Jimin a lot. It was weird and unusual. Although Vmin was kind of rude towards him, but Theon had never done this before. And Jimin wanted to know the reason behind why Theon had been doing all that. After he got his results, he went straight to Theon as he was happy that he could get to above average list. But Theon just ignored him as he asked him to keep the paper there and leave from there. He just left the office as he waited outside, and after some time, Hyun came out and he left towards the chairman's office. Jimin was curious, so he just ran behind him as he stood outside and tried to hear them out. At chairman's office, Mr. Lee, oh, Mr. Kim Hyun. So, how was it? Did he make it? Hyun, yes, he did. As you said, and I challenged, he has made it to the above average. So you can't expel him nor you can fire me, Mr. Lee. I know, but he's still lagging a lot. It's just above average. Look at my son. He is also in the top in this mock test. And I'm pretty sure he will be able to be in that place when in the finals. Yeah. But you said you won't do anything after he got above average. So you should keep your promise, Mr. Lee. Yeah, I guess got me wrong. I know he got good marks and he was able to make it to the above average, but I don't think we should actually keep him in this school. But since you insisted it a lot and wanted me to fire you instead of expelling him, I just took that challenge. But I guess I should better expel him and fire you too. Yeah, isn't it unfair? Like you said me, I should make him get above average marks, and you told you will fire me, not expel him. And you are just changing your words, Mr. Lee. If you got agreed to the fact that I will expel him, then I'm not going to fire you. You can stay in this university. But he needs to be expelled. He needs to drop the school. I can't take any risk. Yeah, but he didn't fought maybe then he got in last 3 weeks and also got good marks. And still you are saying that you are going to expel him. Why, Mr. Lee? But the harm he have done to all the students, he should get expelled for those reasons, right? I forgave him for beating up my son, but what about those parents who have complained against him? I can't just ignore those complaints, right? Yeah. What do you want to do? I mean, what the hell do you want? Mr. Lee, just let him get expelled and enjoy yourself because I'm not getting back from it anymore. I'm going to suspend my son for 2 weeks and I'm sure that it would be risky because I'm not going to let him study for 2 weeks straight and the exams are also closed. But I am going to take the risk and suspend him and along with that I'm going to expel him. Yeah, you won't do that. I will resign. No need to expel him. And if you still do that, then I'm going to complain it. Instead, leaving the office and going back to his cabin, Jimin, who heard all those things, ran as soon as he heard Theon coming outside. After some time, Theon again came back with some papers in his hand. He was putting them inside the envelope before he opened the door of the office. Jimin saw him as he was hiding in a corner. He ran towards the office as he again stood outside. Mr. Lee, so are you really going to resign? Yes, but don't you dare to expel him, Mr. Lee. I'll try, but he needs to keep up with this behavior which is he doing right now. He will. And soon they heard a voice and Jimin ran inside, taking the paper from Hyun's hand and tearing them apart. Jimin, what are you doing? Jimin, you wanted to expel me, right? Then why going to resign? And yes, Chairman, you have a lots of complaints against me, don't you? And I am pretty sure even if Professor resigns, you are still going to expel him after he leaves. So there is no point he should leave the university. And as you said, I am actually not a top student, but I am going to. In these finals, I will come under top 50 students. And if I didn't, then I am ready to get expelled. I know you are just against me because you don't want me to become the CEO. And after expelling me, I won't be able to get the company. And that's the reason you want to expel me so desperately. If I couldn't get in the top 50 students, I'm going to expel my own. I will drop out. But this has nothing to do with professor. You are not going to fire him, or else you are gonna regret your decision. He said, holding Thiang's hand and leaving from there. Thiang was in utter shock as he was being dragged by Jimin outside. Mr. Lee, what the actual hell? How the hell did he know that? Actually, Mr. Lee was always jealous because he knew that Jimin was a capable student and he will be taking over his father's company, which is one of the biggest company of Korea. And out of jealousy, he wanted Jimin to get expelled and he won't be able to take over the company. He wanted Jimin to be expelled because after that, Jimin won't be able to do anything and his son will be always in top. He was just greedy and jealous of Jimin and his family. Soon, when they got out of the office, Jimin left his hand as he stood there silently. After some time, Jimin finally spoke. Jimin, let's go to your cabin. You can tell me whatever you want to, or just scold me. He said, running away from there and leaving Thiang still in shock. Thiang finally looked towards Jimin and he walked to his cabin. He closed the door before he came inside and sat on the chair. Thiang, yeah, do you think you will be able to get inside those 50 students? You are not even inside 200. How the hell are you going to get in those top 50 students? Have you gone crazy? Jimin. Anyways, he was going to expel me, and I am capable of doing that. Tell, if you were, you would have done it this time also. Why didn't you do it? He was clearly angry. Jimin, I will do it. And if you want, I can also get inside top 40. He said, trying to calm Taeyang, who was not ready to. Taeyang, top 40. Huh? Have you really gone crazy this time? You couldn't get inside 200 this time and you are saying that you will get inside 40. Like seriously? Could have just done that this time. At least I wouldn't have been so disappointed and sad on you. Jimin, is that the reason why you are ignoring me? He said, almost whispering. Yeah, yes, it is the reason. And of course, why would you even care if I ignore you, isn't it? You had 2 weeks and you couldn't get inside 200, and now you only have 1 week before your finals. You think you can do that? Jimin, I will, but I just need your help. Hyung, I'm not going to. I tried my best to teach you this time, and what did you did? Nothing. So why do you want me to teach you again? Jimin, I will pay more attention this time, and you don't have to teach me all those again. Just teach me ahead. Hyung, alright. Let's see. And if you didn't got, then don't dare to show up in front of me again. Jimin, alright. Jimin got up as he was about to leave. He turned around. Jimin, you didn't had your lunch, right? Yeah, of course I didn't have. And it's all your fault. Jimin, I know. Your lunch is inside your bag. You should have it. He said before leaving from there. Yeah, in my bag. He said as he immediately took his bag from the shelf and opened it. There was a lunchbox. Kyang surprisingly looked towards the door. Kyang, I didn't expect you to do this. He said as he smiled, looking towards the box. But soon it faded when he remembered how rude he was just a little bit ago. Kyang, I shouldn't have talked so rudely to him. When will I learn to calm myself? He said, closing his eyes with frustration. Time skipped at night. After giving explanation of some topics to Jimin, Taeyang went to take shower. He was feeling so tired that he couldn't even give other explanations. He just wanted to go to sleep as soon as possible. When Taeyang came out of the shower, he saw Jimin still studying. Taeyang, aren't you going to sleep? Jimin, I will, after making the notes of the explanation you gave. Taeyang, do it later. Jimin, don't you think I will forget then? Taeyang, how much is left? Jimin, not much. The last topic only. Alright, I am going to the bed first. Don't take too much time and come to sleep as soon as possible, got it? Jimin nodded and again started writing. As soon as Theon got inside the bed, he was drifted to sleep. He didn't realize when he fell asleep while watching phone. After about an hour, when Jimin looked towards Theon, he found him sleeping and his phone was falling on his chest. And he wasn't also under the blankets. He got up from his seat and went towards Theon. He slowly took the phone from Theon's bare chest, trying not to touch it. Keeping the phone on the nightstand, he covered Theon with the blanket and again went towards the study table. It was 1 o'clock at night when Theon felt empty beside him. He wasn't used to that emptiness. His eyes opened as he didn't find Jimin. He slowly looked around, still squinting his eyes, and he closed it when his eyes fell on the lamp near Jimin. He again slowly opened it after rubbing it with his hands and saw Jimin sleeping on the table while doing head down. He slowly got up from there and closed the lamp, calling out Jimin's name. Hey, Jimin, he whispered, but there was no response. So he slowly tried to pick up Jimin, and as soon as Theon hugged him, Jimin hugged him back as he wrapped his legs around Theon's waist, hugging him like a koala. Jimin snuggled into Theon's neck as Theon picked him up and went towards the bed. Lying him on the bed, he removed his shirt and covered him with the blanket, sleeping beside him. Jimin hugged him as soon as he went inside the covers. Theon kissed Jimin's forehead and drifted to sleep again. Jimin was confused the other day when he found himself sleeping on the bed with Theon. Jimin, did he brought me here? He thought to himself. The alarm rang and Theon woke up due to the noise. Jimin pretended to be still in sleep when Theon closed the alarm and looked towards Jimin. He kissed Jimin on his cheeks before calling him. Time skipped that night. Theon didn't went to sleep because he knew Jimin won't be going to sleep anytime soon. And if Theon fell asleep, then Jimin is not going to have rest. And he is going to sleep on the table itself while doing head down, which is not going to be comfortable for him, and his body might hurt if he continued that. So Theon stayed up along with Jimin even after Jimin asking for Theon to go to sleep, but Theon wouldn't agree to him. It was about 1 o'clock when Jimin started feeling sleepy, but he wasn't done with writing, so he just kept writing, keeping his head on the table. Hyung, who was doing something on his laptop, looked towards Jimin and he thought that Jimin was asleep, so he got up, closing his laptop and keeping it aside. He carried Jimin, not knowing that he was actually not asleep yet, and removed his shirt before lying him under the covers, and later sliding beside Jimin and sleeping while hugging him, not forgetting to give a kiss on Jimin's forehead before falling asleep. Soon after some time, Taeyang was sleeping. Jimin opened his eyes and looked towards Taeyang. Jimin, so you were the one who brought me to the bed yesterday, weren't you? He said to himself before hugging Taeyang and snuggling to Taeyang's chest and falling asleep. The days passed with the same routine for Taeyang and Jimin. During the final, Jimin even tried to stay awake till morning, but he just couldn't, and Hyung also didn't wanted him to do that since he might get sick and his health was more important than the exams. Both of them didn't got much rest due to the routine they were following. About an week later, when their results were declared, Jimin was kind of nervous to check his position because if he didn't got under 40, then he wouldn't be able to show up in front of Theon. As he went towards the notice board and started searching for his name, he finally found it. It was not much below, but it was not under 40. It felt like his world just crashed away. He did got 43rd place, but he didn't want it to be there. He wanted to at least get 39 or any other place, but not the line of 40. He was sad. While when Theon checked it, he was excited to meet Jimin after the university. He went inside the cabin to take his car keys, but he didn't find it. Theon, it must be Jimin who took it. He said, running towards his car and found the car open. He looked inside, but no one was there. Jimin's bag and his phone was inside, but he wasn't there. He looked around, and there was no one in the parking lot. Jimin, where did you go? He said before running from there to search Jimin. Hyung was running as fast as he could until he remembered what he said to Jimin the other day. Don't show up in front of me if you couldn't get. Hyung, oh shit. Did he took that seriously? This time Hyung was more scared. He ran as fast as he could and started searching in the university.